Welcome back to Beyond the Pot. Nope. Start again. Count me down.
3, 2, 1.
Welcome back to Beyond the Silence podcast, and I am your host, Lisa Toma. So today, I actually have my beautiful sister back, and I feel like our episode was so powerful, but we literally just scratched the surface. So I really wanted to have her back on. I know everybody loved having her on, so she's back just for you. So how are you doing today?
I'm good. I'm
Okay,
trying to calm down first just before we start.
So we had a little bit of a chaotic morning. So my sister had to come and do my makeup at like 6 o'clock. Well, we were supposed to start at 6 o'clock, but we actually started at 6:30.
I got you out of bed at quarter
Yeah.
after.
And then I had to get my 3 kids ready for school and do lunches. Actually, they were so good this morning. They got themselves dressed.
Yeah.
And then you had to get yourself ready. So anyways, it was just a big, it was fun.
We're here.
Okay, perfect. So I feel like our episode was so good, but I feel like I said, we literally just scratched the surface. And I thought it would be really important to go into a little deeper into the things that we brought up. Like, for example, we talked a lot about how our upbringing and our experiences influenced our choices in relationships. But then I also feel like a huge part of that was how those experiences and traumas influenced our relationship to ourself.
Yeah.
And then through the relationship with ourself is what led us to the choices and the things that we tolerated and the lack of boundaries and just the overall decisions we made, whether it came to partners or friends or just life decisions in general. So I thought it would be really important to talk about how the relationship with ourself affects our life, affects our choices, and then how to even know that you need to fix the relationship with yourself, which all comes down to self-love, self-worth, the beliefs and the thoughts you have of yourself. So where do we start?
Oh God. I feel like even we should just start like to explain our relationship we had
Okay, so
with ourselves.
how would you describe your relationship with yourself before mommy passed and after? And then I'll share what I think mine is.
Okay. Before mommy died, I'm trying to remember, from everything that I've heard and from everything that I haven't blocked out.
Yeah.
I blocked out a lot. I remember like I was extremely an outgoing person with myself. I felt like I was a confident kid.
I think so too.
I was more outspoken.
Yeah.
If I wasn't happy with anything, if I wanted to stand up for anything, I would speak everything that I had on my mind.
Actually, fun fact, didn't you get sent home on your first day of kindergarten for beating up a grade 1?
It was a boy who was being mean to me.
Oh, okay. That's totally okay.
I don't remember that.
I know. It was just a funny story mommy always used to tell. But anyways, go on. You were just a very strong and confident character.
Yeah. And I feel like after everything happened, again, I became the opposite. I was scared to speak up. I didn't want to make anybody mad. That's when I started to become a people pleaser. I would just do like everything I was told. And
What beliefs did you have about who you were and what your worth was? I know it's such a hard question.
I believe that I didn't need a lot from anybody else or a lot from myself, that I'm just fine with whatever I have or whatever comes my way. Like I'll just
Just be
have to make
grateful.
it work. Yeah. Like, yeah. even if it was a small thing, like, oh, I've experienced a lot worse, I should be happy, even though whatever I had at that time, looking back, wasn't enough. I needed more, but I just took whatever I could get.
You just reminded me about something. So I feel like my relationship with myself, I think I was under the perception that I had a great relationship with myself. But when I look back now from the version that I am today, and I look back at my younger self or my younger teenage self, I can see that the relationship I had with myself was not ideal for any teenager. And the reason I believe that that is because we were modeled. We grew up in an environment where it was modeled to us that in order to show your love, you need to sacrifice yourself. You need to put everybody before you. You need
Yeah.
to put everyone's needs before yours. And that was our first modeling of what a woman is and what a woman does and how a woman shows love. Starting with our nonna, starting
Yeah.
with our mom. And that's what we were shown how to love. So I'm going to fill everyone else's cup, right?
Yep.
And if there's a little bit left, then maybe I'll give to myself, but usually not. And I feel like we showed up in the world like that, which is where, it's part of the people pleasing, besides it being survival or trauma response, because it is. Yeah,
Oh, I never knew that.
people pleasing is the fawn survival response. It is one like there's fight, flight, freeze, or fawn. And fawn is actually not talked about, but fawn is like shut down. So you're literally just doing whatever you have to do to make everybody happy, to please everyone around you. So that's probably most likely one of the survival responses that you experience.
I was unaware of this.
But on top of that, on top of the fawning,
Yeah.
we were also modeled that, right?
Yeah.
Like we have to sacrifice our own self in order to make everybody else around us happy. Like, do you agree with that? Like, what do you think about that?
So I thought about this and I realized that our relationship right after everything happened,
Like mine and your relationship.
yes,
Yeah.
it hasn't always been how it is now.
No.
I feel like once everything happened, we were and we are all we have in that, I guess, the sense of a best friend and
Yeah.
like we're always here for each other. But I feel like there was a point in time that we were not on the same page. I don't want to say we weren't that close because we always have been close, but we were not on the same page.
Yeah. I know what you're saying because I feel like in the beginning when we first moved into to our uncles and then to our nonnas, there was a big chunk of time where I feel like we don't remember.
Yeah.
And we really had to hold each other at that time. But I do know what you're saying because I got into a very toxic, serious relationship. And going back, circling back to self-worth and self-love, like I knew in my heart that this relationship was bad.
Yeah.
And I know that when I got really serious into this relationship, it was basically my first and only priority. I wouldn't say my only priority, but it definitely what took a huge toll on me where I did feel adrift in our relationship. But correct me if I'm wrong. I also feel like because you saw the choices I was making in this relationship, you held me in this light.
Yeah.
Am I hitting the nose?
Yeah.
What is it? Hitting the
Hitting
thing.
the
What the hell?
on
How do you
the
say
head?
it?
Yeah.
Yeah, hitting the nail on the head. I feel
that's how
like
you say
I feel like you held me in this light
Yeah.
as your big sister, who then became your support person, kind of like mother figure.
Yeah. And
Right?
you were, and you still
And I
are.
was, but I feel like I lost that for a little bit
You
because you lost respect for me.
Yeah. So We spoke about this.
a little bit yesterday.
Yeah.
Okay, honestly, when you said it to me yesterday, I was like,
It was hard.
oh my God, I can't believe she just said that.
Did-
But it wasn't from like an ego way, like,
No.
oh, I can't believe she said that. It was like, oh wow, I didn't like I'm hearing a little bit of resentment still stuck somewhere in there.
So basically, we were having a discussion,
Yeah.
and
Well, we were talking about what we were going to talk
Yeah.
about today.
and she made a comment about, or
Yeah.
you made a comment that about how I would always ask you about advice, or you would give me advice, but I wouldn't ever take it. And I kind of stopped, and I looked at you and I said, because there was a long time frame where every time you gave me advice, I would think, you're the last person to give me advice right now.
Right. But the funny part is I wasn't even talking about that time.
I know, but I still
Right?
had it in me, so I had to
Right.
say it.
That's what I'm
I had
saying.
to let it
Because
out.
I was talking about like after all of that, when we were really talking about like I was kind of already through like halfway through my journey and
Yeah.
I saw and noticed
Yes.
that there was a lot of self-love that you were lacking. And the only reason why I was able to see it is because I was there. So
Yes.
I saw the choices that you were making. I saw what you were tolerating, what you were allowing, because I was that, if not worse. Right?
Yeah.
So when I was like, I really want you to work on your self-love, your self-worth before you get into another, that's what I was talking about. But the fact that you went all the way back and was
Yeah.
like, well, I didn't really want to take advice from you because look at the choices you were making. And I was like, okay, but with all of that being said,
Yeah.
I also feel like after I moved, after a very long time of finding myself, finding my self-worth and self-love, I was able to leave that relationship. And then I feel like I started gaining your trust back as you witnessed me going through my healing journey. The
Yeah.
things that I was doing, the way that I would speak, how I developed some self-awareness where I was able to own up to my mistakes. I was able to say, I know that I'm this way, or I know that I'm, and then I feel like we were both able to, I mean, I don't think we were ever separate, but I do know, like looking back now, I do know that I did lose a lot of your respect because of the choices I was making. And I'm sorry. No, I'm
I'm like, I'm sorry for thinking all that about you, but
But
it
you know
was
what
how
I just
felt.
realized? I just realized like we're sitting here and we're talking about like how we were modeled from mommy and from nonna, but I was also one of those models for you. I only had in women, not I was influenced by mommy and nonna, but you were influenced by nonna, mommy, and me.
Yes.
So I just realized, right. I just realized that I added, and I'm saying this with absolutely no shame because I do accept the parts of me that I was before because I know that I had to be that and I forgive myself for it. But I'm saying this, I forgive you too. Thanks. I appreciate that. But I feel like I also added to that influence of self-sacrificing, putting others' needs, but staying in toxic relationships.
Yeah.
I was saying that just like was really dominant in my mind, so I needed to like say it first. But putting others' needs before my own, and I feel like I was part of that influence on you. However, I do feel like I redeemed myself.
Yes, you have.
And now we're like, and I feel like our relationship really, really grew even more after I had kids,
Yes.
right? Because you were so present in their life. And with that being said, I hope I don't get emotional saying this, but
I know, I'm starting to choke
I
up.
know, but I feel like, I feel like when I had my daughter, it was like one of the most, it was the biggest thing that I experienced in my life.
Yeah.
And I remember feeling that void the most that I've ever felt. All of my grief came up and I felt the void of not having mommy there. But I was so grateful. Sorry. I was so grateful that you stepped in the way that you did for me because I needed the support. And you became another mom
I was just gonna say
to
that.
my kids. And if I don't know what I would have done without you, like even still to this day.
Jesus.
I know, I'm sorry.
No,
I
it's
wasn't
okay.
expecting
It's
to get
okay.
emotional today.
I
Damn, you
know.
just did my makeup.
I'll fix it after.
But no, seriously, I feel like through that, the way that like I know all of you guys always look at me holding you guys, but the way that you held me throughout having all my children and still to today, um, I'm just so grateful for it. So thank you.
I was gonna say what hit me was actually just hit me now that I've always looked at you in that like mom role, and I feel like after you had the kids, I knew I had to step into that role as obviously I'm not like older and I'm not that mom in your life, but if I know a lot of the girls in our life, they have moms. When they have kids, their moms step in and it's a huge help.
Yeah.
And I knew that you didn't have that.
I didn't.
So if I didn't step in, you would not have the help and support that, that you would need. So I felt like I stepped in that role for you and your kids at the same time.
So those actually were tears of joy, but not just joy, so much gratitude. And I know, through really, really difficult times, it feels like everything is falling apart. Everything is just an absolute disaster, and you don't know how you're going to make it through or get to the other side. But I feel like just the support of my siblings and especially my relationship with my sister, I was able to get through the times and like kind of fill the void of not having my mom there. I'm getting emotional again. Like I said, tears of joy. But I just wanted to leave everybody with, if you have that person, I know sometimes we feel like, we can be an inconvenience or you don't want to ask for help. But I feel like it's so important to surround yourself with people who you love, who love you, who can support you. And if you need help, ask for help. Ask for help because the people who truly love you will do it with all of their heart, just as my sister did with me.
Yeah.
So I know everyone is saying, I love your episodes. They're too short. I want more. I promise you, I'm going to have my sister back on another episode. And until then, where can they find you?
So again, I am the most active on Instagram, and you can find me at Lori. I always get stuck on the end.
Okay, so where can they find you? Where can everybody find you so they can look as beautiful as I do today?
On Instagram at lori.muyabeauty.com. No, why .com? Damn it.
You said it and then you said .com.
Yeah.
Okay.
Where can they find you?
They can find me on Instagram at lori.muyabeauty.
Very nice.
And you, Lisa?
Okay, you can find me at This Is Healing Official on Instagram, This Is Healing Official on TikTok, or on my website at www.thisishealing.ca.
Good. Now that's a good way to end it off.
Guys, I need my coffee. I am not on my game.
Okay, I need it.